welcome to this Friday's Lift the Rock. We're excited to have you with us. My name is Ashley Jones. I'm the Managing Director of Community Programs here at the Venture Center. As I mentioned, we have an awesome jam-packed lineup for you today with Lift the Rock. This is going to be about tech apprenticeships here in Arkansas. So we've got Bill Yoder, the ACDS Executive Director, Lonnie Emard, who is ACDS's Director of Apprenticeships. We've also got Melissa Johnston, who's with First Orion. She is their Director of Learning and Development. Also, Adam Holland with GlaxoSmithKline. He's their Security Infrastructure Director. And then we also have Grant Chandler with Lost 40 Brewing as their Quality Manager. So we're going to hear all about ACDS, what it is, who they serve, why it's a thing, and also some folks that utilize their apprenticeship program, and they'll kind of give their testimony and share what they've had to do with this and be a part of it. So we're excited to have you here and learn more about ACDS. But first, a little plug for the Venture Center. The Venture Center just celebrated their 7th year anniversary. We've been around for 7 years. We're a nonprofit entrepreneur support organization. And as you can see with this slide, we are all about education, collaboration, and acceleration. These are all of our beautiful programs that we run on a monthly basis, some of them quarterly. We're actually about to wrap up our FIS FinTech Accelerator. And as you're here with us today, this is one of our programs, Lift the Rock. It's all about economic development and entrepreneurship and how it's growing here in the state of Arkansas. And none of this would be possible without our awesome sponsors. We've got the Little Rock Regional Chamber, Simmons Bank, Entergy, Tech Law at Wright Lindsay Jennings, CFO Network, and Frost PLLC. All of these companies have a vested interest in promoting entrepreneurship here in the state, so we're excited to have them as sponsors and advocates for our program that we're able to provide for the entrepreneurs. Some upcoming programs that the Venture Center has. We're unable to do JOLT in the month of October. This is typically a 200-person event where we have teams of 4 and game masters who are volunteers that put together puzzles of cybersecurity infrastructure puzzles. And it's just a fun event that usually takes place at a large venue, and there's food, and it's a weekend-long thing. COVID actually, nipped that one in the bud this year, but we pivoted, entrepreneurial term, we pivoted and decided to go the route of Jolt Ed. So Jolt Ed is an educational component of Jolt. So this is going to give you a deeper dive into the components of Jolt, but also real live case studies that can help you in the classroom, but also professionally. This is targeted for junior high, high school, college students, early professionals, and if you're an expert or advanced, you're also welcome to participate and be a part of this community. But this is going to be a 4-part series. It's completely free, open to the public. All you have to do is register. The first session is actually coming up next Thursday on the 8th. So be sure and register for that. That one's going to feature our 2 game masters, Chris Wright and Nick Seward. They're going to be talking all about encoding and ciphers and everything that entails. So be sure to register for that one. Then smack dab between the JOLT series, we also have Demo Day. This is our FIS FinTech Demo Day. The 10 companies that have been selected into that program will demo their products virtually, and that'll be October 14th from 11 to 1. So you're also able to register for that. Session 2 of Jolt Ed features Daniel Spillers, Tommy Haycraft, Josh Ball, and Chris Wright talking about hacking puzzles. So they'll take a deep dive into what that looks like, both in the Jolt setting and also some, like I said, real live case studies as well. So that is actually October 16th. I believe the time is 5:30 to 7:30. So after work, after school, so be sure and register for that one as well. Then session 3 is web vulnerabilities. And then I believe this one's October 23rd. And then session 4, reverse engineering, will be October 30th. So go ahead, you can go to our website, our Facebook page, our newsletter, and register for these events if you have an interest in cybersecurity, IT, infrastructure, that sort of thing. It's going to be a really good event. We're also part of this, an exclusive Jolt Ed piece is there's a Discord channel that we created, so you can continue the conversation after this program ends. And hopefully, fingers crossed, next year in 2021, in the spring, we can have the actual Jolt event and bring everybody back together. So again, we encourage you to apply to that and register and join the conversation there. As I mentioned, we're on all the social networks, so feel free to check out our website, Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter to keep up with everything that we're doing, because it's a lot. And we want to help and support and make sure you're aware of everything that we do. All right, first up, I want to welcome Bill Yoder and Lonnie Emard with ACDS. I'll stop sharing my screen. And guys, if you could, tell us about ACDS. What is it? And how did you get involved and that sort of thing? So go right ahead.
Well, thanks, Ashley. Appreciate you having us here today, and welcome everybody. Big thanks to the Venture Center that is very part of the ecosystem in Little Rock, Arkansas and Arkansas. So the Arkansas Center for Data Sciences, as the name implies, has a mission to inform the companies of the value of their data and how to use data analytics in the process of data science. But it also plays a large intermediary role in the IT workforce in the state of Arkansas. So we are an intermediary between the employers that are looking and have demand for skills and the talent pool, which puts us in a position to use all of the traditional pathways, four-year schools, community colleges, boot camps, as well as K through 9, and encourage STEM and computer science pursuits. But you probably have heard me say that the most efficient pathway in terms of capital and time is the registered apprenticeship program. And we're going to do kind of a deep dive into that part of the ACDS offerings. What we've done is we've invested in a team that I'm going to give you the 4 components of that team, and then let Lonnie do a more detailed dive into it. But we invested in client development resources. These people spend almost every day talking to employers in the state of Arkansas, understanding what IT skills they're having trouble with and are in demand. We encourage those companies to take a look at registered apprenticeship program as a supplemental staffing strategy. Don't quit doing anything that you're doing, but add the apprenticeship pathway as an additional strategy. We also have added talent acquisition experts, people that have had experience in recruiting IT talent in the state of Arkansas. They assess, vet, and interview those applicants, and then align those with specific requirements that the employers have given us. They take people with potential and motivation, and all they need is training. And that training in an apprenticeship program comes with a job, and that job often becomes a very good career. We also add project management people. This is really ACDS's key for quality assurance. So we make sure that the employers that have committed to the program are getting what they signed up for. The apprentices that are going through the program, we make sure that they're increasing the competencies and completing the program appropriately. The other thing that they do in the project management office is they track the documentation that's required, and they do all the reporting to the Department of Labor. That can be very cumbersome if all the employers are having to do that on their own, but we do that for them. And then the 4th component is who I'm going to introduce. That's the Director of Apprentice, Lonnie Emard. Lonnie is an Arkansan. He and his wife Karen moved here in March, right at the beginning of COVID and during COVID. But he's been involved in IT apprenticeships for over a dozen years. He probably has done more IT apprentices than anybody else in the United States. And we're fortunate to have him in Arkansas, and we're really fortunate to have him as one of the leaders with ACDS. So you don't have to take my word for it. We got 3 companies here to give their testimony, and we got Lonnie Emard. So take it away, Lonnie.
Well, Bill, thank you for those kind words, and thanks, Ashley. And it has been great to become an Arkansan. I'll just say this to the audience today, that in my short time here, having a chance to see what the governor's transformation plan is, looking at things that were done from a what I call government oversight perspective of registered apprenticeship has been very, very impactful to see a very coordinated and collaborative effort. Meeting Bill and Charles Morgan at First Orion and others, as I had been spending time here doing some national consulting, it was apparent to me that we had a chance to do some things here that not many other states have the same chance to do. I think we're at the right size, the right significant companies, the right direction and motivation to accomplish this. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here and share the message with executives of companies, small, medium, and large, that says apprenticeship can be a very effective business strategy to solve, as Bill mentioned, the ability to attract, to hire, and to develop and retain IT talent, knowing that we have a huge gap. That gap, you know, there's all kinds of numbers that float around across the country, not just in Arkansas, about what that skill demand is for tech. And I'll just say this, that I've been a lot of places, and that is absolutely a true statement, but it's always deserving of some clarification. You know, when we talk about apprenticeship, most people still today, when I bring it up, they hear that word and they think, you know, carpenters and electricians and plumbers. They don't necessarily think about a product analyst at First Orion, a data analyst at Loss 40. They don't think about a cybersecurity analyst at GSK or developers, or I could go on and on with all the different occupations that just hadn't been on people's radar. Arkansas received a few years ago about $6 million to begin to expand registered apprenticeship in the state of Arkansas in areas like IT, as well as healthcare and advanced manufacturing. And just know that part of what we've embarked on is a strategy to do nothing but educate employers about the fact that this is really an effective strategy to do what we're talking about. And so when Bill said we've formed, you know, kind of this focus at ACDS on apprenticeship for IT, you know, what we've been doing is on an everyday basis, really not just thinking about the issue, but actually delivering programs that are being very impactful to solving the situation. So if ordinarily a company would hire from 3 avenues, whether that be campus hiring, you know, 4-year degree college graduates in IT and computer science, or they would go looking for experienced hires that, you know, we'd all love to have somebody in every job that had 3 to 5 years experience, as well as finding ways to continually upskill our current employees, and maybe we hire contractors at some point in time. I mean, those avenues are tried and true, but have not fulfilled the necessary need to grow the total population of what I call capable candidates. And what apprenticeship has done is basically change the nature of the funnel of candidate availability for every company to say, oh my gosh, maybe it doesn't take a 4-year degree in all cases for somebody to be successful in our profession. And we're proving that every day. The fact that we are not a very diverse population across the board in IT, thinking about why not more females, why not more minorities? How do we get veterans back from the military into our profession? How do we reach rural America? You know, things that give us a chance to find people with aptitude that have not either could afford or have not found themselves in a traditional path of education toward a computer science degree, and getting them into our profession. And just for all of you on this call, it's working. We've proven it. This is not a test case. It's not a you know, something that people have to pilot, although we tend to use that term as people do embark on their first implementation. So having our talent acquisition team that Bill mentioned, I think it's very important to note that we've got over 2,500 candidates in a database that are from all around the state with varying backgrounds that we are proving day in, day out can go through an apprenticeship program and become highly productive very quickly and be there for the long term for these employers. And we've got 3 folks that are going to kind of give you a testimony about that here in a few minutes. But the reason that's so important is that when somebody comes into an apprenticeship program, and Bill mentioned, the idea that we team up with training providers. ACDS in and of itself is not the end all do all to delivering every bit of technology training, but we have incorporated the best of the best in terms of partners. And in some cases, like First Orion, they're doing their own internal training that qualifies as the apprenticeship training. And you'll see that in a few minutes. But in the case of GSK, they came to us and we utilized the American Cyber Alliance, best of breed to deliver cybersecurity training. Grant will tell you about Lost 40 and a data analyst program that we're using the Arkansas Coding Academy to deliver the data analyst training. And we have an inventory of all those providers. And guess what's unique about this? It's not a traditional course that would be delivered for a college student or just some kind of advanced, what I call professional development training. It's very customized because an apprenticeship marries 2 things together. It's classroom education that really is about skill building, but it's customized to the fact that it's coupled with on-the-job training and a very specific way of identifying for companies, this is exactly what this person needs to know to deliver on their assignments at my company in this particular occupation, as a developer, as a data analyst, as a network engineer or a cloud engineer. So that's really the glue to this whole thing, is the fact that a company can make a mindset shift to realize that they can find a whole lot broader availability of talent by knowing that you can find people that are culturally and behaviorally and a fit to your company, and at the same time know that we have a very proven model to customize and make sure that the training they receive grows them in the skills that are needed to become productive and to not only develop continually in the career in IT, but the fact that they stay because the loyalty created when somebody gets an opportunity that they otherwise would not have thought they were going to have. It's amazing what that leads to. And I say that with using an example that I want to throw out because I think it's an example. I certainly experienced it as an executive at Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, but I'll use a more at-home example. Simmons Foods in Northwest Arkansas, have quite a few plant workers, and they have a fairly large IT division. And their CIO, kind of said, hey, I think we want to embrace this apprenticeship model. And so there's the employer demand. They had a need for some QA junior developers. And he said, but you know what? I've heard you, Lonnie, and I think we want to think about what about incumbent workers that are already in our organization. They're already on our payroll, but they don't necessarily have the skills that it takes to do this job. Could they become an apprentice? And so the answer to that is absolutely yes. So for those of you out here, I don't want you to think that an apprentice can only be entry level and that it always has to come from the outside as a new hire. An apprentice can be an incumbent worker from within, somebody who maybe is moving up in their career within the organization, or maybe somebody who's crossing over from another part of your business. And that was true in the case of Simmons. They went through an exercise to assess some capabilities about 60 plant workers, and many of them qualified as being highly capable of working in the IT space. And they chose finally 2 of them for this initial course. And out of that cohort that's participating in the UA Global training portion of that apprenticeship program for QA junior developer, it's basically full stack development. They're the 2 premier top of the line folks in that whole class, according to the teachers, the instructors, and facilitators. That to me is remarkable to say that those examples are out there, whether they're in an organization, whether they're career changers, or whether they're folks that might find themselves today, underemployed or out there in the marketplace. We're proving, as I said, that the apprenticeship model just flat out works. And so, Bill, you mentioned kind of our ACDS role here as an intermediary. I guess I'll go so far as to say the 4 things you mentioned: talent acquisition. I want people to know that those services for your company are not intended to replace your recruiting. They're intended to supplement it, as Bill said. And that's offered to you free of charge, right? The training piece, for the most part, on every IT apprenticeship program for right now, given the grant funding that we've received from both the federal government and what's in place within the formation of ACDS with Commerce Department and so forth, we're making most every IT apprenticeship program free of charge in terms of the training costs to an employer. That's very, very beneficial in terms of knowing that you're hiring a person, you're paying the wage, but we're covering that really important piece, which is the cost of really top of the line customized training. The other piece you mentioned, Bill, was project management. From my experience after 12 years, we can initiate these programs, but if somebody doesn't project manage the implementation, they tend to fail. And so we're offering that free of charge. Now, in the case of First Orion and Simmons Bank and a few other examples, those companies become their own sponsor and can basically project manage internally themselves. But we are offering this for everybody else. And we're upwards of now 35, almost 40 companies around the state that are participating. We hope to see that number go to 80 or 100 before too long. And with that, we offer the project management, again, free of charge. The final piece you should be aware of is that for small and medium companies, I think this is really vital. And that is that here's all these things that affect the ROI and the return on your investment. But another thing is there is a state tax credit for apprenticeship. And so for every apprentice, there's a $2,000 tax credit up to a cap right now of $10,000, but that's being increased in this next legislative session so that it becomes a very attractive, nice addition for a lot of small and medium companies to know that that exists as another incentive. So my final kind of mention before we turn it over to our wonderful panel of industry experts and testimonies is that right now we have an opportunity to appeal to a very large audience of candidates. And we're really seeing that blossom all around the state in terms of having a supply that we have always wanted, right? Very diverse, full of folks that are ripe to change careers or to find their way into an IT career. And really the whole thing comes together only because of an employer. And I say that because the final thing that comes up, and I want to clarify, a lot of times people get confused the difference between an internship and an apprenticeship. An internship typically is educator driven. Many of you probably have either been an apprentice or been an intern or experienced that, working with a university student, giving them a meaningful work opportunity for maybe 3 months in the summer, that kind of thing. Very low commitment, but very instrumental. Great recruiting tactic in terms of, getting a test drive, an ability to try before you buy, if you will. Somebody can come in and demonstrate that they can do well in that situation, and companies appreciate that. They may make an offer to hire somewhere down the road. And for that person, they find out whether they really like working in that environment or they really want to be in the IT profession. So it's beneficial. But at the same time, that is short-term and it's non-committal. An apprenticeship is an employer-driven program. Everybody here as an employer, if you decide to do this, it's your program. You've chosen that as a strategy to find a broader candidate, to know that you're participating in the development of that candidate, and you've hired them, and that you want them to be there for the long term. You have control over their starting wage, because if they don't have all the skills you needed, you have the ability to start them at less than that starting salary. As an apprentice, they have to go through 144 classroom hours at a minimum in a 1-year apprenticeship program. In IT, that's not very much. They do have to have a mentor. You'll hear about that from some of the employers here in a minute. And then they have to get at least one wage increase within that first year. That's only required because if you think about it, the Department of Labor, to have a standard around apprenticeship, wants to make sure that somebody who's begun to master skills and demonstrate that on the job, that's deserved of at least that one wage increase in that first year. And then the career begins from there. The other thing is they receive a national credential, and that credential is portable, it's meaningful, it represents something because of the national standard. And we take care of all that kind of, red tape and as Bill said, documentation on behalf of employers so that you do what you normally do, and we kind of handle some of that additional overhead to make it work for you and for the apprentice. So Bill, I'm gonna stop there. I think I've thrown out a lot of information in a very short period of time. I hope that it leads to some questions a little bit later. If not, maybe all the questions will be answered when you hear from our wonderful panel of companies, because we really appreciate them, as you know, because they're doing it. They're providing the example. And because of them, many other companies are on board, and many of them are coming back for round 2, which is also another good example of success. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Ashley.
Thank you so much, Lonnie. And thank you for providing that distinction between apprenticeship and internship. A lot of times that can get a little convoluted and people are unsure of what the difference is. So thanks for shedding light on that. And also an eye-opener too with the apprenticeship. It's just so important that we get this word out about this apprenticeship program and what all you guys are providing. And then in fact, the folks can come from the internal part of the organization. It doesn't have to be always from looking out and pulling in. So thank you for that. And again, we will open it up for questions towards the end. But now I want to introduce Melissa Johnston, who is the Director of Learning and Development at First Orion. First Orion has chosen to participate in this apprenticeship program. And so Melissa, if you want to talk to us about First Orion, kind of give an overview and about this apprenticeship program, I'll let you take the stage.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you for having me. We're very proud of our apprenticeship program, and so it's always great to share information. I have a few slides that I'll start with just to give you some background on our company and kind of who we are, and then I'll talk a little bit about our apprentice program and the structure, why we have an apprentice program, and then just some general thoughts about the apprentice program experience. So we are a company that is really in the business of helping you to trust your phone again. So we have a number of products and solutions that identify call scammers, robocalls, those kind of annoying phone calls that you really don't want to take or have to deal with. And then we also have products that help companies engage with their audience. And so they identify who's calling so that people will answer their phones. I know many of you probably deal with this issue of receiving a phone call and you don't know who it is and you don't want to answer it. And you're missing an important phone call and you just don't realize it. So we have products and solutions that help to alleviate those issues. And our primary client is T-Mobile. We have an in-network solution with them. So if you're a T-Mobile customer and you see scam likely come up on your phone, that is us. That's our in-network solution. Or if you've seen the T-Mobile commercials where they talk about Scam Shield, that's our product that we offer. And so they're our primary client, but we also partner with other companies as well to provide our Engage product that actually identifies who's calling. And we kind of divide our business into 3 areas: call protection, which is the Scam Shield, call knowledge, and call enhancement. And again, we just want people to trust their phones, and we want companies to be able to do business without that barrier of unknown phone calls. We were founded in 2008. We're a private company. So far, we have protected over 82+ million consumers and saved billions of dollars in call scam situations. The average person loses about $350 if they do end up in a call scam solution or a call scam situation. And so we've been able to alleviate a lot of that and actually save people money. Our headcount, we currently have 242 employees. We have 226 who are full-time, and our apprentices are considered full-time employees. I'll talk about that more in just a few minutes. We do have interns and part-time employees as well. We have 16 of them. We're currently located, actually, I need to update my slide. That should say North Little Rock. We have moved. We are now located in the Argenta district. We have a brand new building. It's gorgeous. We love it. And so I need to change that. We're now in North Little Rock. We also have employees in Washington State, in the Bellevue, Seattle area, as well as the UK, the UAE, and we have about 20 employees who are home-based. So our technical apprentice program launched in 2018, and the reason for the program was to kind of close this gap between people we were hiring into these highly technical roles who maybe had some college experience or experience with another organization, but needed to learn the mobile environment. And that's a huge gap for a lot of people. And so we're fortunate that Charles Morgan is such an advocate for education. And he actually created this idea of an apprentice program. And so I joined the company in 2018, and my primary responsibility was actually project managing the apprentice experience. And so I now have a team of people. Our apprentice program is so large that I actually have a team of people. I have a technical trainer, and she primarily handles the day-to-day of the apprentice program. And then we have some education, video production team members who help us with our materials and develop our curriculum. So the apprentice program experience has been a great success for us. And we have hired some amazing people that we would have considered for these roles because of lack of experience or because of just being recent college grads who have been able to come in and be very successful in these positions. The list of programs that we offer are located here on this slide. Our very first program was in the mobile development area with the Android and iOS. We've since offered that program again. We've done data analysts, data science, product analysts, software engineers, and automation and site reliability engineers. And we've had 37 apprentices so far. And we're looking to plan our next round of apprentice programs starting in January of 2021. Our candidates are from a variety of backgrounds, primarily recent college grads, but we have military, we have veterans who've been through our program. We have people who've come from other companies, other tech companies, who are willing to jump into an apprentice role just for a career change, to learn something new, new skills that they may not have had at their previous employer. And then we also do hire from within as well. We have a couple of our apprentices who have made career changes, and they've done so through the apprentice program. We hope as we move forward with this to be able to even make a stronger connection between our internship program and our apprentice program, so that we can hang on to these apprentices that we value, and they do a great job for us in their internship role, and that apprentice program would be a natural next step for them. So that's something that we're working towards going forward. Our apprentices are full-time employees. They receive a full salary, they receive full benefits. They are just a part of our company and our culture as any other full-time employee. They are not necessarily on a probation period or anything of that nature. Once they finish their education experience, they go directly to work on their team. And we like to say that we hire them for culture add, not just culture fit, because we want to hire a diverse group of people who bring something new to the company and in some way change our culture and help our culture to grow. Our program is approximately 10 weeks of education, and that's a mix of lots of different things. We have classroom learning, online learning, we have mentoring, and we also have projects that they work on. And our information is developed and shared by our subject matter experts. So we are very fortunate that we have people in the company who are very willing to share their knowledge, and they work very hard to create this curriculum, oftentimes from scratch. You know, sometimes they're teaching a job role that doesn't really have a developed curriculum that we could find online or elsewhere. So they build their curriculum from scratch. And it's actually been a great opportunity for our employees to step into this leader role and this instruction role. We have many employees who work in our apprentice program who are not leaders. They're not designated by their job title as a leader. So this gives them an opportunity to kind of give back to the company and grow in their leadership. So it's beneficial not only to the apprentice that's coming in, but also to the people that we have working in the company. They get to kind of try something new, spread their wings. They often come to me and they're like, I've never taught a class in my entire life. And so we kind of have to talk through that and coach them in that area, but it's a great growth opportunity for them as well. And then our program ends with a capstone project and a presentation to our leadership. And so our leaders are so supportive of our apprentice programs. This can be a very stressful situation for the apprentices. They take all of their 10 weeks of work and they put it into a project and a presentation. Charles is there, intimately involved in their apprentice experience. So they have the full, attention of everyone in the company when they do their capstone presentation. So that's a great way to end the program. And then once they finish and they graduate, they join their team. That's usually a very seamless transition because the team has actually been teaching them along the way. It's just now they're working in a live environment. And so sometimes, there's a little time for them to kind of ramp up to that live environment, but they are able to make an immediate impact. Whereas if they had not had the apprentice experience, they would just be doing on-the-job training with one or two people daily, and that would take a lot longer. So they are definitely ready to go and very productive and make an immediate impact. And we've also seen, since we've done this for about 2 years now, we've seen them grow into other roles. So many of them have moved on to leadership roles, team lead roles. Some of them may start in one area and move completely to a different area of the company because they're continually learning. So we have a lot of growth with our apprentices as well. And they've been very satisfied, with their experience. I'll stop sharing now and go back to this. A couple of other thoughts about our apprentice program. When we look at our hiring practices, we do hire a diverse group of people. We're looking for all different experiences, skill levels, backgrounds. But I do believe that our apprentice program has allowed us to look at people that we maybe would not have considered before, because we do have such a robust education opportunity that we can bring someone in who maybe doesn't have a strong technical background. I think of a couple of our apprentices who started out in things like sociology. We have one apprentice that started out in school as a theater major. And then she decided later on that she wanted to go into computer science, never expecting to get a job in an IT company, but she went through our apprentice program and, was very successful. We have one of our data analysts, which is now a data scientist. She actually did not even receive a high school diploma. She went through a GED program and started college a little bit later in life and decided that she wanted to go into technology, had no background in it, received a computer science degree, and was able to join our apprentice program. And now she's a data scientist. So the path to get there is varied and not everyone has the same path, and that's okay. Because I think they bring those life experiences to the position and to our company, and that only enhances, our company for sure. So we're happy to look at any and all candidates and really choose those people that are a culture add for us, for sure. Let's see if there's other things. ACDS has been a huge resource for us. Just the paperwork part, I guess you could say, or the administrative part of an apprentice program can be very overwhelming. We don't live in that world every single day. My team and I, we don't. And so ACDS has been great to help us make sense of that. We are excited to partner with their talent acquisition team. So our recruiting team, their talent acquisition team have started looking at candidates for us. That's been a great addition to the process. And also just with funding and helping us with money and receive funding. We use our funding to supplement our programming. So if we, for example, we do some online learning, that funding helps to, support those licenses. So the funding is important to us. We do definitely put it back into the program, and ACDS has been just such a great asset in helping us, secure some of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa.
Is that good? Is that a good overview?
That's great. I think Bill and Lonnie would approve. I don't want to speak for them, but
you make sure I get all the 4 points. Okay, good.
Thumbs up.
Melissa, a question. How quickly, so it's a 10-week program that they're put through. What does that timeline look like as they're completing their apprenticeship and then they move into that role as being an employee of the company? How quickly does that apprentice become productive in that role?
Immediately. Usually, and I didn't touch on this as clearly, that capstone project is usually a project that the team is working on. So when they get to the point, when they've gone through all of their curriculum, they get to the capstone, which the capstone takes usually about 4 weeks of the program. So technically they're really only in about 5 weeks of classroom learning-ish. And then the last 4 to 5 weeks is the capstone. That capstone is something that team is working on. So it's a live project. It's something that makes a direct impact to the team. So when they finish that, they're already so ingrained in it that they just immediately start working. I mean, that it's very little time that they have to transition. All of that transitioning and getting to know the team and the work, that all takes place as they're doing their capstone. So they spent 4 weeks working on a live something that's related to that team. If that answers.
Awesome. Absolutely. And then a question just came through. Are you currently accepting applications for apprenticeships?
We are going to start that process at the end of this year. You need to keep an eye on our website. We do advertise specifically for the apprenticeship program. We are in the process now of setting our budget for 2021 and looking at the needs. All of this is need-based. We have teams that will come to us and say, I think we need an apprentice program. I think we need this role to be filled by an apprentice. So all of our programs are based on company needs. So we're currently in the process of evaluating that. And we will be launching more information about our next round of apprentices end of the year, early January. So definitely keep an eye on our website.
Great. Let's see, another question came through. The people in the apprenticeship program, I'm assuming they're specifically talking about at First Orion, do they get full-time benefits?
Yes, they do. They get
Great.
full-time benefits and full salary.
Awesome. And then another question, what's the percentage of folks that become full-time employees after the apprenticeship?
100%.
Wow, yeah.
We've had everyone who has started the program has finished the program.
That's amazing.
And we've only had two of our apprentices have left the company out of the 37 that we've had total, but they left one of them left to start his own business. And then another one left to go to a bigger, company, a bigger opportunity that we at Google, Amazon, all of those sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But it was not due to any, issues or anything with the apprentice program. They actually worked in their job role for a couple of years and then just had new opportunities become available.
That's fantastic. That's a fantastic track record. Kudos to the First Orion team and obviously the ACDS team. Lonnie, Bill, did y'all have anything to add?
Actually, I would add just one thing to what Melissa said about First Orion is that when the question comes in about are they full-time employees with benefits, that is kind of one of the distinctions between an apprenticeship and an internship or apprenticeship and other part-time employment. An apprentice is a full-time employee with benefits from the start, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not an option to say, well, they're going to be an apprentice and they're only here for 12 hours, a week or something. That wouldn't qualify in terms of a registered apprenticeship. So I did want to make sure that everybody knows that every apprentice being registered with the Department of Labor has to be a full-time employee. Now, every company, as I said earlier, has the ability to adjust wages and start them at something maybe less than what their job description might have read if they'd have come in with experience. They're doing a great thing at First Orion saying they're coming in at full salary and benefits, but there are choices that an employer can make, but they are full-time employees from the start. And the program itself doesn't end until a 1-year time period. You can end training 10 weeks, 12 weeks, sometimes it's staggered even more than that. But the point is, right now, most of our standards have a minimum length of time of a 1-year apprentice. And that just means they had classroom training and the rest was really OJT, as we call it. They were still being mentored on the job for that rest of the period. So
right. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. I think that's an important piece to mention too. Thanks so much, Melissa. If any other questions come in, we'll save room at the end for additional questions, but let's go ahead and check in with Adam. I want to introduce Adam Holland, who is the Security Infrastructure Director at GlaxoSmithKline. Adam, if you can, share with us a little bit about GlaxoSmithKline, your role there, and then how you became involved with ACDS as well.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, Ashley, quick audio check. Are we good to go?
I hear you.
All right, good deal. I appreciate the time today, and I'm in a tough position now following Melissa's awesome presentation there and the great program they're running, so I'll do my best. So GSK, there's a lot that we could cover at another time there because the company's origins go back to 1715. So been around for quite a while as a pharmaceutical company. GSK and the branding that most of us would be used to in the US, you'll see a lot of work and globally around oncology, respiratory, dental care, HIV medicines, and one of the largest vaccine providers in the world. So quite a few things going on, as well as our consumer products for my IT counterparts or just other business owners that are on the call that have spent late nights in war rooms or solving business problems and living on pizza and caffeine, probably familiar with some of our other products like Excedrin and Tums at the same time, right? So we're a biopharmaceutical company and consumer company, but the responsibility, like everything else, falls on cyber from a protection standpoint. We have a physical aspect for plants and business but our work with the team and the office and the group that is partnered with this program is a new office that we opened in Northwest Arkansas in Bentonville, which quickly went from a few employees up to a little bit over 40 now. And we were in full hiring mode and even partnership of kicking off the first cohorts when COVID hit and took us all to remote and living in these boxes on our laptops with the rest of the world. With GSK and what we've been looking to do was to the same thing that everyone else is trying to apply to this industry, and that protection of your employees, in our case, our patient data as well, our network, our proprietary information, and facing that huge talent crisis that's out there in the industry. It was hard enough to find talent. It's a 0 or negative unemployment rate, especially in information security work. And then the whole world went remote. So finding your talent and really even being able to connect with them became very difficult as we face that. So like every business, getting creative, looking for ways to find talent. Lonnie called it spot on earlier, that diversifying and bringing everybody we can into this field, as we learned quite a long time ago, that it wasn't just the computer background or knowledge that would make us successful. We needed to understand the consumer, the business, all the different operations, and had to have those voices at the table. When we looked at the options that the apprenticeship program and the cohorts and what that could bring to us, it was not hard to get caught up in the excitement as it was kicking off and getting spun up because of the participation of the team. It became even easier to get excited with the program once we saw that it wasn't another marvelous idea that we encountered that would die on the vine because we didn't have the resources to help execute it. The teams brought to the table talent acquisition, help with finding candidates, the project management pieces, the funding, the other challenges that we face. It was a no-brainer that this was going to be a win-win for everyone involved, most especially the candidates and the apprentices that we would bring forward. You helped solve and are helping continue to help solve for that equation of that find, develop, and retain your talent. When I spoke recently to some high school students here with Bentonville's Ignite program. They're business and technology students, and I have to wonder how long until that's the same class and not separate. But looking at what they understand of the technology and the demands and the type of job market that's out there, the other thing that became very clear and important to me opening this office in Arkansas was they see an opportunity, but even an ads-based world in front of them as that next generation we're trying to employ. So between them and those making career transitions, how are we going to get in front of them? How are we going to help them find us? And then how are we going to demonstrate opportunity in the state of Arkansas? Once again, with this program, we're able to do that. You're hearing today the success stories of some of my other peers in the industry. We're seeing it in how we've been able to deploy something in our business and in this program that was not prescriptive. It was not aged already because the academics behind it were developed years ago and the technology changes on a daily basis. It came into existence with a constant flexibility and adaptability. And we've seen that throughout the program. It was demonstrated, especially as we were launching the first one and already facilitating remote presentation of some of the class when instructors might be in Little Rock or they might be here in Northwest Arkansas. COVID hits and now the entire program needs to be delivered remote 100%. And it was done without missing a beat. The feedback, the interaction with the instructors, with the teams is, especially when we were launching the first program, was daily, but it's ongoing. It's not just fire and forget. It is interactive, and how do we adapt? And we're talking with instructors and we're talking with the teams and the employees. The different use case for me than part of what Melissa described was that my previous roles, I was with a very large global company and I had the resource capabilities to bring in an apprentice and have them work alongside of the team. In this particular instance, we were in more of a startup role. We're starting the office, it's all hands on deck. Everybody we're hiring is at capacity for workload. How do we build on their skill sets? How do we find talent? And then how do we still get the day job done? And so in this particular use case, we were able to use that percentage of our employees and our team members' times, both apprentice and some who are already here with GSK, to allow them to be embedded with their teams, working on their GSK roles and responsibilities, but then gaining the knowledge and the benefits coming out of that cohort and that training material. it worked out great. It takes, everybody has to be involved. Everybody has to be dedicated for it to work. We as leaders have to support those team members in understanding that they need the support from us and their peers to be able to balance between class assignments and the work they're doing, and then coming back to us asking them with every day's new prioritization and list of to-dos, and then giving them that motivation and acknowledgement of their effort and what they're gaining. When we looked at the start of the program and how it kicked off, we had, like I said, there's 4 in the first one, and I had 2 that were brought in through talent acquisition and career transition and out of medical fields and military backgrounds and suddenly into cybersecurity. Not an easy field, even if you've been preparing for it for many years. And then we had 2 team members already functioning within cybersecurity that really wanted to take their skill sets to that next level. And so we demonstrated both at the same time, and it's been the feedback from the team members and the feedback from corporate have been great to see that I could bring in new talent and I could find a way to really diversify what that candidate pool looked like. And then to those employees and those valued team members that have trusted us for years and worked alongside of us investing in the company, they have a concern as they see technology changing, but perhaps the role they're in isn't changing that fast simply based on the description of it. And we're investing back into them to show we're taking you to the next level. This is a matter of retention, not just a matter of do we need to look at replacement. And that was really awesome to watch and see that happen for both and being able to support that as a leader. 2 quick examples of those 2 different realms from some of our apprentices. The one gentleman that I mentioned coming into this that came from the medical background was a true career transition, and the value of that now, of the many things that we would describe this pandemic as, it has become an extreme utilitarian career coach and counselor in making all of us look at the sustainability of our positions, the future proof of the line of work that we're in, and technology has become much more appealing to many people in the world. Seeing that ability and watching the fundamental basics and then the advanced concepts being put in front of an employee in a matter of weeks to get them there, as opposed to them spending months trying to find it on the job, is just something that I can't replace elsewhere. We talked about the internal upskill and seeing a long-term employee who has some very valuable history and understanding of an audit function and our cyber risk and compliance areas, now spending time looking at the security operations aspect of what it takes to run our program, to sit and listen to him describe how much that means to his current role, and to go back into those conversations with his peers in audit and risk and assurance and other places with an understanding of what operations teams are seeing and doing on a daily basis. Again, the value add just continues to go on and on. We talked about going back to the benefits piece of the candidate pool, the upskill, the diversity in that talent pool, and then I mentioned too on that cost saving side, the real unique aspect of this overall program, and we're seeing it across the state of Arkansas, and I'm going to continue to cheer for the state, not just because I have an office here, but I live here and my family's here as well, is that investment into Arkansas. You're seeing cost savings as a business owner, as a leader, and as a manager. You're able to put your time and your resources into getting that talent here, having it. But in the background, all of these different teams, some on the call here today and some not, are with the governor's office. And you saw just as recent as yesterday, the new initiatives coming out on increasing computer science requirements in the state's high school programs and feeding college and training, and what that career pool is going to be. If we don't have programs like this in place to demonstrate the opportunity in the state of Arkansas, we do all of that to ship all that capability off to other states, perhaps even other countries, and in some instances to our competitors as businesses. And that's just something that we can't allow to happen on our watch. So we're going to have that in place to be able to put all of this together and to be successful. So I appreciate, I have to compliment the teams, Lonnie and Bill and Ashley, everybody that's been involved. I wouldn't be able to come here today and talk about how beneficial this has been to my team and to my company and to this area if it wasn't for your work. So I'll applaud you on behalf of everybody involved, and thank you for that. And then Ashley, a good time for questions or things that the group may have for me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam, for that overview. That was really, really helpful. Someone had a question about how many apprenticeships or apprentices you've worked with. Do you have a number of those that you've worked with?
Sure, we are on our first cohort that we participated in the cybersecurity side was 4. We did 2 career transition, 2 internals. Right now we have 3 team members that are a part of the analytics cohort that's underway. So while it's a global company, so I don't have the higher numbers that I would demonstrate if we were doing this in a larger shop, that is 7 people out of a team of 40 that are involved in this program. So a very heavy involvement from our office. The main difference is the cohort we're in right now is actually a little bit, I guess we'd use a little bit more part-time right there. They have a fewer hours per week. It's much more, requires a person who's definitely self-driven to keep up with the work, but we're still seeing the same benefits. The knowledge, they're bringing their questions to the instructors based on their day job, and the instructors are helping feed that back into what they bring back to my teams the following day. So it's working out very well for us with 7 so far, and we're already talking about the next cohorts and some of the other topics that are coming up, as well as filling additional roles through this program.
Ashley, I might ask Adam a question. Adam, you had mentioned that GlaxoSmithKline or GSK, being a older company in general, that they had done apprenticeships kind of across the board before, but had maybe not been doing them recently. And tell us about the fact that you getting this back started in Northwest Arkansas. Didn't that have an impact corporately? I mean, how did that play out?
Yeah, timing's everything, right? Absolutely. So it has, like many corporate businesses, there's kind of there's an up and down trend in internship programs that were described as well, but specific to apprenticeship programs. And in this case, the company was just doing additional research on how to expand their apprenticeship program, but also what does it look like in today's world and how does it change? And not just based on business programs, but even more so in some of the technology, in not just information security in our technology platform in general. And so with our first cohort, we were able to partner with the folks at GSK doing that work and present a model program that many of the aspects of which are being studied and incorporated back into how they're handling some of the corporate programs deployments, and from recruiting to execution of the course material.
That's fantastic and good to hear. Someone had a question about maybe the logistics of your apprenticeship. Melissa mentioned that they had a 10-week course, kind of on the job training and 10 weeks. Can you speak a little bit about the logistics of the GlaxoSmithKline apprenticeship, what that looks like?
Sure. So we've relied, we haven't built a specific, and a lot of it again has to do with the size of current team and office, and a specific in-house program that they're in alongside of this program. So they're full-time employees. Once they're hired in, they're put in with their teams, specific teams from day one. And then we're utilizing the 10, 12, 16-week models of however long the cohorts are going to run to allow what in first class was a matter of a couple days a week, and then now is a matter of broken up of a few hours over a course of a few days per week, for the students to be able to step away from their primary responsibilities, attend the coursework or the course, and then complete their coursework, and then step back into that role. The first cohort was very scheduled. We knew the days of the week, the Monday, Tuesday, and every other Friday kind of thing. This time around, with more flexibility, we've put in their hands the ability to, outside of what the course instructors schedule, to work around the demands of the job. And that's can be a little scary at first because you don't want things to fall through the cracks, but what we're finding is it's not causing as many conflicts with the fires that pop up throughout the day or throughout the week. They can handle those priority business missions and then get back to the coursework. So that's so far how we're testing the logistical aspect of it with the employee base being remote right now.
Ashley, if I might add to that as well, Adam, you described that perfectly from a GSK perspective. From an ACDS perspective, we have this alternative that's presented to every employer. You can be a first Orion and you can run your own internal program and you control most everything in terms of flexibility, delivery, schedule. But when we put a community cohort together, as you know, with fintech type things and various stuff, now all of a sudden what we've done is looked at the best way to kind of meet everybody's needs relative to how much do they want to have context of the OJT merged together with classroom activity. So instead of front end loading all of the training, what you heard was in cyber, they meet Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. And then those other days, they're actually doing the OJT and assimilating so that that meaningful classroom learning is more beneficial and richer because they have that context. They understand what their job assignment's going to be at the same time that they're learning a skill and practicing and so forth. And data analyst is the one that Adam was referring to that has had even more flexibility because 9 of the 11 candidates in that program happen to be incumbent workers. And everybody was a little bit concerned, hey, they're coming away, they're transitioning into a new job, they have a little bit of this other responsibility, and how are we going to make that work? And I think it's a testimony to the way apprenticeship works, is that we say it's customizable and we really mean it. It has to be something that's going to work within the construct of they're an employee first and a student second, not the other way around. So anyway, hope that helps.
Absolutely. Thanks for that.
We've definitely tested the reach of that flexibility in the programs, and it's been great. We've been able to keep everything running and still benefit from all of the program.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much for that, Adam. We do have a few questions, but I'm going to save them for the end because they're for a few different people. So I want to go ahead and move on to Grant Chandler. He is the quality manager for Lost 40 Brewing. And when you think of, obviously everyone knows Lost 40 Brewing is the craft beer, provider of Central Arkansas. You don't think tech apprenticeship. So I'm really interested in this story. So Grant, tell us, for those that maybe don't know, tell us a little bit about Lost 40 Brewing and how a craft beer company got involved in a tech apprenticeship.
Sure. To your point, apprenticeship and data technology is quite new to our organization, so I don't think I'll have as much insider words as our fellow participants, but I'll give it my best shot. We were founded in 2014 and quickly grew to the largest brewery in Arkansas, but relative to other breweries and companies across the nation, it's still a very small company. When we started our quality program, it was all about metrics, methods, standards, measuring everything we could, collecting all the data we thought was relevant. But we didn't really, for a long time, the data set was small enough that we could kind of take it in stride and it was digestible without any analytics per se. But by last spring, when I had a conversation with James Morgan, the data set was kind of becoming incomprehensible, and we were struggling to use it properly. And we didn't really have anyone around here who knew where to begin, really, when it came to data analysis. When I worked in labs before working here, guys would design experiments, techs would conduct them, and then we would send it all over to the stats department and cross our fingers that they could make something useful out of it. But we didn't really have a stats department here, I guess we could have outsourced it, but conveniently we came across ACDS around the time where this was really becoming an issue, and James connected us with Lonnie and the rest of the crew, and we were able to start our first apprenticeship with an incumbent. We didn't hire anyone new for the position. We fortunately had a lab tech that we had just hired not too long before, who was pretty ripe for the opportunity. Fortunately, he is rather tech-minded, so he's kind of embraced it and was happy to roll with what we all thought we needed for the quality program here to really flourish. And so far, it's been great. I keep my toes out of that largely. His mentor isn't even part of this organization. But I mean, he I think it's fair to say he enjoys that part of the job more than his actual job at this point. He's really embracing it, which is great. And he's got great ideas, and he's done a great job at already making our backlog of information much more useful and digestible and workable, actionable, and that's great. And it's, you know, one of the privileges I have as his supervisor is, like I said, just kind of being really standoffish, allowing myself to not get bogged down with his education, his apprenticeship. I'm still able to very much do my job and attend to my responsibilities, and trust that he is growing in the way that we hope and expect him to. And so that aid has been invaluable. Very fortunate in that regard. Yeah, so it's a good thing. I think that's about all I got, to be honest.
No, that's great, Grant. Like you said, Lost 40 Brewing is new to this, and you're just getting your feet wet. So it sounds like you've got one apprenticeship so far that's going really well, and it's someone that you've worked with internally that was able to move into this role. So that's extremely beneficial. Do you see this expanding? Do you see Lost 40 Brewing moving into additional apprenticeships if this grows?
I hadn't considered it. I mean, I don't see any room for further data apprenticeships, but the apprenticeship model has very much piqued my interest. Before this opportunity, I'd heard the word apprenticeship, but, you know, similar to what Lonnie was saying at the beginning, it had no relevancy to what we were trying to do here. It was not something that we considered as a possibility. And the experience we've had so far, I mean, it's opened up a whole new world of possibilities. If you are aware of any other state-sponsored apprenticeships other than data analysis, I'd love to hear about them.
Well, actually, I'll respond to that. You know, the expansion across multiple sectors, Grant, as we may have talked about, you know, occupations in advanced manufacturing, healthcare, you know, banking and finance. I mean, it's really amazing. There's over 1,100 occupations that are apprenticeable in the country. So there's probably other things that are going on in terms of your logistics and distribution. I know Xander was talking about, you know, full trucks and capacity and product marketing and segmentation and all those things. I mean, any number of things that you probably have roles being played could become apprenticeable. And we would connect you with the Office of Skills Development and the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services, because they are approaching that in all those other areas, similar to the way we're doing for IT at ACDS. So
great to hear.
Thanks for that. I've just posed a question in the chat if anyone has questions for our panelists. We did have a few questions coming through. Thanks, Grant, for explaining that. That's awesome. Like I said, I never would have thought a craft beer company would have a tech apprenticeship, but there is a need for data analysis. And if, for those that don't know, maybe Grant, can you explain a little bit what kind of data analysis this person is doing?
Well, it started out with simply, we do a lot of diagnostics for our quality program, and just trying to figure out what exactly we are doing, assessing whether that's good or bad, and then trying to figure out how to correct course if we were off, and how to ensure that we stay on if we were on. But we realized that he was able to just kind of tear through that stuff really fast, because despite the size of our data being too large to just kind of roll with, it's still very small considering relative to other data sets. So he's recently started helping us with just production and marketing. We use a SAP database for a lot of our enterprise resource planning, and he's helping us to optimize that a little more now as well. We just started, Lonnie was mentioning his capstone project is focusing on forecasting can orders for 2021. For anyone where there's like in addition to COVID, which has shut down a lot of on-premise consumption, which has shifted demand from draft to cans. There's also a can shortage just due to aluminum tariffs. And so cans are very scarce, the scarce commodity in the industry right now. And being able to get a hold on what we're gonna need when is very important. And he's helping us do that right now.
Absolutely, that is important. I didn't even think about that. But that is something, obviously, somebody that crunches numbers and uses data to find those resources and that sort of thing is really valuable. So thanks for that. That was an important piece to mention at the end. Lonnie, did you have any other points on that one?
Just that, I think it's come up a number of times. And so to emphasize why the value of an apprenticeship, I think you've heard it over and over. Somebody who walks into a job, even with a 4-year degree, still doesn't know the first Orion way. They don't know the GSK way, whatever the company is. That was going on all the time anyway. So to be able to merge that with this kind of additional skill building that's very targeted, very appropriate, and then knowing that they're getting the context of that from a mentor model, from the fact that they're being assimilated in at the same time, and as Melissa said, becoming productive almost immediately is something we want to make sure that that's in the mindset of other employers. Because sometimes they think, oh gosh, I'm settling for something less, or it's going to take forever for them to be productive. And we want to dispel that myth, because it's absolutely not true. It really is a very, I call it a 21st century model of the way that people come on board in a technical environment. And so I just want to make sure that's clear for the small, medium, and large companies, because it applies to everybody.
Absolutely. Bill?
I was going to emphasize, Lonnie referred to it, and Adam and Melissa and Grant all referred to the flexibility, adaptability, customization. We spend a lot of time looking for the right training partners. So the training partners are selected based on the skills and the particular components that the employers want. And then we take it and we make sure that they have the curriculum. We make sure they have instructors that are capable. And we've been very fortunate with the training partners that we selected. Last year was our first year. We were all in classrooms in Fayetteville, in Little Rock, and Conway on March 16th. On March 17th, nobody was in the classroom. The instructors were remote, and all of the apprentices, students, were remote. So that was adaptability and flexibility in motion right there. So, but that is a big component of what we offer, is the customized training for specific occupations.
Absolutely, and thanks for driving that point home. That's really important. Have a couple of questions rolling in. This one is specifically for Melissa and Adam. They ask, how are you conducting your programs today virtually, and how's it working out?
We are virtual, and just as Bill was just saying, one day we were there and the next day we were not. So fortunately, as a technology company, we are used to working remote. We are set up to quickly move to a remote climate. So we are remote at the time. We're hoping when we start up again in January that we'll be able to have more people in the building and in our classrooms, but we quickly moved to an online format.
Spot on with Melissa's comments. Being in technology, we were accustomed to a lot of remote work, and as a global company, a lot of our business peers, I think, were a little bit more surprised in figuring out how to use some of these collaboration tools. The one thing that we have had to add with the remote piece is being much more intentional about our follow-up and kind of pushing into the program and making sure we understand the feedback and kind of digging for that what you don't know. And it's kept it on track. The conversations both with the students, with their managers and peers, and with the instructors in brief. It's not anything that's a heavy lift. It's just quick check-ins. It's kept everything running smooth.
Yeah, I think we had to spend more of our time just educating our apprentices on how to work from home. They weren't used to that or how to do that. And, we actually had one class that started virtual. They were never even in the building until the last day that they finished. They all came together socially distant. But that was probably our greatest challenge, was just educating them on how to manage their time and how to actually work in a remote environment.
Right. How to do your work with a cat getting on the keyboard.
Yes, exactly.
That is an interesting challenge. Typically there's a set of processes and things that happen that are typically in person. It makes it, personable, and you go to a specific location. That's not how it is now. And so, bringing on new people, it can make it a little bit difficult. So it's lucky for you guys, there are processes in place through ACDS or your own hiring processes that make it a little bit easier to adjust to. But yeah, I can imagine that's a pretty difficult challenge. Let's see, there's a question for Grant. This is kind of a funny question. The first question was, do you use data analytics to come up with your new flavors? And if so, what's the next flavor?
Well, no, sorry to cut that question short. No, I mean, that's, we try and give the people what they want, and I'm sure maybe, 10, 15 years time, we can have enough customer info that we can, I don't know, design beers to target segments. But at the moment, that's not a resource we have. So it's largely talking to customers, and it's very, very collaborative, but I wouldn't say it's analytic whatsoever.
Yeah. No robots involved, right? Yeah.
No robots.
Yeah. Someone says, or someone asked the question, this can go for all of you, how do you teach your organization's culture being in a remote environment? And that's also for ACDS, but everyone is welcome to answer that.
Ashley, I'll start, and I think this may give the employer partners a chance to think about it. But one of the things that we had put into our Department of Labor grant solicitation, that, by the way, ACDS did win a $2 million grant to expand registered apprenticeship in IT specific, and we were, one of only a handful that received that. But embedded in that was what we had called a fully remote apprenticeship. And that's beyond just knowing that in IT we'd done remote work before. It was kind of the concept, and remember, this was before COVID ever happened. But we had connected with kind of a national expert who had done some preliminary work on this. And that means that the identification, selection, interviewing, hiring, training, and actually onboarding and actually doing the work all happens fully remotely, never having set foot in a corporate office, never having met face-to-face with maybe some of the key people. And with that comes a lot of, as you might imagine, some interesting dynamics, that things that have to be compensated for that are important, especially when a new person comes on board. It's not just, hey, show me the work, and all of a sudden I have the proper technical environment and I can just do what I do. We know there's other factors that are part of culture and part of kind of assimilation that, and maybe it's like Melissa really emphasized something new, it's culture add, not culture fit. But just knowing how to communicate in some ways, to know that they feel confident, that they feel plugged in, that was all part of this. We actually have a listing of 25 attribute areas that can be arranged for companies who are going to do a fully remote apprenticeship in what's called toolkits, kind of like for a small or a medium or a large company. And the nature of that is not based on their size, but based on how have they been doing this kind of remote work, or how would they begin to. And it's a whole series of things that asks questions, puts it all together, and says, here's some recommended best practices as to how to make sure that that apprentice in that environment is successful. So we're going to be glad to work with companies. We're trying that out soon, hopefully in Newport, Arkansas, in kind of a very remote rural area, and see how this plays out. But I'm anxious now to hear from our employer partners on that thought.
So I would agree that communication is a huge critical component of communicating your culture virtually. We have 4 cultural cornerstones that we try to exemplify in everything that we do. And it's people first, it's make it happen, innovation wins. And we have, I say people first, innovation wins, make it happen. Oh, trust and transparency. You had to go to the 4th one. And so we exemplify those in so many different ways, but those transition well to a virtual environment. So for example, with people first, obviously with COVID, safety was so important. And so we wanted to make sure that we made resources available to people through either mental health, physical health, opportunities to check in with people in that way. We gave an allowance to go buy new office equipment, printers, monitors, anything to make their work environment, to be comfortable. So that showed that we definitely put our people first. Trust and transparency, we communicate everything in our company. We have a Monday morning meeting where Charles and other leaders take us through our finances, take us through our business opportunities, our products, different people present, those continued. They're just virtual. We just do them through Teams. And also we encourage the transparency through communication just every day. And so we make sure that our leaders are constantly communicating with people and sharing information. That's very important to us. And then the innovation, being able to use technology to continue our work, we had to come up with some new things. And so we feel like that we definitely demonstrated the innovation just in our everyday practices, being able to transition into this virtual work environment and still make things happen. So our cultural cornerstones are all based on behavior, they're based on relationships, and they're based on communication, and we continue to do that through a virtual environment. Now, we are missing out, well, we've started them again, but they're much smaller. We have Beer 30 every Thursday afternoon, and we have Lost 40 beer. We have all different kinds of beer, and so we all get together and have food, and you don't have to drink beer, but you can do different things. But it's a time for all of us to stop work, come together every Thursday afternoon, and just have a good time and get to know each other. And actually, a lot of teams continued that virtually. So they would have their own small virtual gatherings, so that kind of reinforced that element of our culture. But we like to get together. We like to have fun. And that is one element that's been a little bit difficult to translate through virtual environment, but our teams have done a very good job of trying to do that on a smaller level.
Lonnie, I think we look at that. One of the hard parts of teaching and maintaining your corporate culture is you can end up, if you're not careful, with that disconnect between the leaders, the top leaders of the company, and what people feel and see is being executed in their teams and in their day jobs. And so, Melissa mentioned those cornerstones in GSK. It's the innovation, performance, trust, and culture are part of all four of those pieces. This program, it's especially being remote, the challenge you have as a leader, regardless of title, is it's too easy to say, here's your laptop, here's your job, here's your calendar that's now full of team meetings and OJT, right? And go forward. These types of programs, both for the participants and then the follow-up conversations around their teams and their peers describing what they're doing and their success, are actually helping me reinforce that culture, that innovation, the increasing the performance, the trust inside and outside, and that we're showing we're investing back into them. So it's really just describing the things you're doing, all that hard work, all the effort that all these companies are putting into this apprenticeship program. Being able to be a good storyteller about what that is we're still virtually able to use that to reinforce culture and grow it, not just support it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Question, Ashley?
They were asking about how do you teach your organization's culture in a remote environment, and with you can't make beer virtually. So your environment.
We're very on site, yeah.
Yeah, hasn't.
We're all here wearing masks. No, it's okay. It's not ideal, but we're making do. No problem so far, but knock on wood.
That's great. No, that's really important. I imagine the culture at Lost 40 is quite fun. How can you not have fun making beer all day? So, Lonnie, did you have? Yeah, there you go. Lonnie, did you have any last words, Bill?
I think we, by virtue of the questions and answers, we've had a chance to do what I want to do, is kind of put a bow on this whole session, because I hope everybody appreciates this. I just sit back and in awe of the companies and how they've embraced this, and just know there's a number of other ones that we could go down the list and have them describe their experiences. We're just glad that a number of them have already gone on to round two and round three, looking at other occupations, not just the one they started with. And we've got a whole lot of other companies that we're just now scratching the surface with. So, this momentum phase, I hope that the folks on the call here have gleaned something from this that says, you move from awareness to interest. And that interest, if we need to have a one-on-one and come to your office and meet with all the right players like we did with everybody else here on the call, and then you make that decision to commit to that first apprenticeship experience, just know that we're going to shepherd you through the whole process. So we look forward to it. Bill, anything else you'd like to add?
Microphone, Bill.
I think you're on.
Sorry, Ashley. I muted myself instead of unmuted myself. But I said I wanted to thank the companies for their testimony and their support. It's pretty easy to see why you get up every day. I mean, if we're helping Arkansas companies maintain and grow through resources in IT, and we're getting people in Arkansas better jobs working for Arkansas companies, it's worthwhile work, and we appreciate your support.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you all were able to participate in this and share your insight into this program. It sounds like a really successful program, and you're just getting started. So we're looking forward to 2021 and years beyond, where we can look at this moment as, you know, the launching point of ACDS's success and all the testimonies that'll come after. So thank you so much to Lonnie, Bill, Melissa, Grant, Adam. Thank you so much for participating today. Thank you to all the participants, not only on Zoom, but Facebook Live, and that'll watch this hereafter. Also, big thank you to our sponsors, which are Wright Lindsay Jennings, Frost, CFO Network, Simmons, and the Little Rock Regional Chamber. So important to have them involved. And also, don't forget, if you're interested in jolt.ed, Jolt Ed, you're more than welcome to register for that. And the first session is next week on October 8th. Check out First Orion, check out Lost 40, learn more about GlaxoSmithKline, and we hope to hopefully see you all again soon at one of our future programs. Thank you all.
Ashley, nice job. Nice job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. This is great. Thanks.
Woo-hoo.